So Jamie All Over is the only song I think of Mayday Parade's that, yeah, originally it was a Kid Named Chicago song, which is the band that Jake and Jason and Alex were in. You know, this band kind of formed from two bands in Tallahassee that split up and kind of took members from both to start Mayday Parade. And whenever we were getting ready to record A Lesson in Romantics, I don't even know really who brought it up or where the idea came about, but that's...
I would imagine it was, if I remember right, Zach and Ken just really liked that one, because there's even more songs that we could have done, including like potentially some of that defining moment stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that was the band that we were in that merged.
Yeah, so maybe maybe it was Zach and Ken that, and it was just such an obviously like strong song. That's the one song that we brought in other than the new stuff we had written for A Lesson in Romantics. And at least once or twice or a couple times, I would go up and sing Jamie All Over with Kid Named Chicago, of course having no idea that we would go on to form Mayday Parade and play that song. It was all in one moment. It was in Studio A, the nice big studio at Tree Sound. And they have this beautiful grand piano. I just sat, and again, the song had been something we'd been working on for a while, but it wasn't finished. And it was one of those where I just kind of sat and wrote out the second verse. And I remember I was nervous about showing Jason, just because I just didn't know what he was going to think about it. But he was really excited about it and liked it a lot. And we moved forward from there. But yeah, it was one of those, sometimes it does take a really long time for me to write lyrics, and then sometimes it just kind of clicks, and in one sitting I can just kind of write it all out, What's weird is that to begin with, we never played it with Jason ever, because we recorded A Lesson in Romantics and then Jason left like a month after. So we never even played it with Jason live once.
That's so weird.
It is weird, yeah. And I think it would have been Warped Tour 2007, if I'm not mistaken, and that's when we played it for the first time. And I don't know, it's really hard to remember, honestly. I'm sure it was weird, but it's really tough to remember, I guess, really what the vibe was like playing it for the first time. Originally, it was just a chorus. I guess it was a first verse and chorus that Jason had written, and we all loved it. And even like through the pre-production process with Zach and Ken, it still was an unfinished idea. It was just that first verse and chorus, and we just called it Piano Song. But we even kind of knew just from that bit of the song that how strong of a song it was, and that we were going to record it and put it on the album once it was finished. And then I ended up writing the second verse to it, and then Jason and I kind of worked together on the bridge for it, and then eventually, and it was pretty soon, like before we tracked it, it was still an unfinished idea up until maybe like a week before we tracked the song. And what's funny is that we've talked about this a number of times with Zach and Ken, that if we had known, I guess like how important that song was going to be, and how big that song was going to be for us, there's a good chance we would have messed it up, because we would have,
maybe it wouldn't have been a piano song,
right? Or it would have kind of had
the
right. They would have tried to add production and strings and make it this big thing, and not just let it be what it is. We spent a lot of time with the track listing, trying to figure. I remember especially for the first, talking over for a long time, what should the first song be, and Jamie All Over just felt like the strongest opener.
It is a good, it just comes out of the gate strong. I think it makes perfect sense there.
Yeah, it hits hard right away. It's super catchy right out of the gate. And then as far as the rest of it, we've I think this kind of started with A Lesson in Romantics. It was our first full length. We've always tried to make sure that there's kind of a nice flow in an album, and I kind of like having a ballad somewhere in the middle of the album, and then somewhere at the end to close it off. And that's, Miserable at Best was, is track 6, I think, right? And then we have You Be the Anchor as the other sort of big ballad on the album at the very end.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, that song made perfect sense to be at the end. So then you don't wanna, you gotta kind of throw that ballad, that piano ballad, in the middle at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's pretty much how we do most of our records too. We think of it that way.
Yeah.
A song like You Be the Anchor is easily the last track, and then you got to put those other softer ones somewhere in the middle, so you even it all out.
And start with some energy, and then
Yeah.
and have kind of ups and downs like through the album. It's crazy. You'd think that after almost 13 years or 12 years, however long it's been of us playing those songs, you'd think that you'd start to get kind of tired of it or bored of it, but it's still so much fun, and kind of for different reasons. Jamie All Over is the energy of it is so insane, and it's obviously one of the crowd favorites. So there's the reaction and the movement and the singing and everything is always just really powerful and really special. And then Miserable at Best, because it is kind of softer and quieter, and it's also one of the crowd favorites. Just hearing, if you're playing a big show and there's just a couple thousand people singing, every word so loud to that song is just, I don't know, there's really nothing else like it, and so yeah, they're both songs that mean a lot, and still after all this time, and are a pleasure to play for sure. Yeah. I'm
always more of an advocate for playing the songs that everybody wants to hear, because that's what makes playing live fun to me. I don't care about my favorite song, in our discography. I care about what they want to hear and the reaction we're going to get.